What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners podcast, Aggro and BaRRaCCuDDa, as per usual, and we are back in the saddle. Had a nice little week off. Spent it up in Maine with my family. It was great. It was very cold, which I thought was kind of lame because it is very warm and nice here in Georgia. But, you know, that's just kind of how it be, I suppose. Oh, Barry, you just like teleported back because your camera lagged. Oh, and they can't hear you. Hold on. You know, I'm back. I'm back. You know what I mean? Like when I say I'm back, I mean I'm back in every sense of the word. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're back, baby. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. Oh yeah, I was just wondering if I was lagging. I didn't hear a single word you just said, because I couldn't tell if I was lagging or you were lagging. So
yeah, you were lagging. Your cam is very pixelated.
Nice, cool. We love that.
Getting Comcast. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is. I was saying Maine was awesome, but it was not very
nice.
Warm. It was like 40 and windy all the time.
But
apparently this week, if we were to go this week, it would be like 60s and beautiful. So unlucky is trying what I'm trying to say. But overall, had a great trip and then came back and had patch notes today. And I think we should get right into it because it is a big one. Because my next god is coming out, Ix Chel, and then we've got a lot of balance stuff. I don't know if we're probably going to get... I think we should cover Ix Chel, because obviously I'm excited to talk about her. And then whatever we get to in balance, we get to. And we'll kind of cover anything else that we missed and want to talk about next week. As a fair warning, I have not eaten any dinner. We already pushed the episode back a little bit. And it is nearing 9 o'clock, and your boy is not going to last that long without dinner. I'm hungry.
Destiny's hungry too, so it's okay.
Destiny and I always on the same page. So yeah, Barry, why don't I think it probably makes the most sense for you to kind of direct questions from chat or from yourself on Ix Chel stuff, because plenty to talk about there.
So I would like to know what was step 1. Because you were talking about on the patch notes, you had like 75 different directions that you could have gone with her.
Yeah.
And what made you choose the rainbow direction?
Yeah.
I don't know if like that's completely inner lore, like the
for sure,
like the main part, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. So, without boring you with too many details, Ix Chel is kind of this combination of two goddesses in Mayan mythology, and Goddess I, who is very much, she's depicted as younger and beautiful and is all about like love and fertility and marriage and medicine and healing and like all this kind of stuff. And then there's Goddess O, who is this old crone, and she is mean and still has some tie-ins with medicine and, healing. Oh, Goddess I, very much a moon goddess. And then Goddess O, who is like old crone, a little bit of medicine, a little bit of like a lot of weaving, which Goddess I is also involved with. And then she is always depicted carrying around this upside down water jug that she's the one that if humanity like messes it all up, she's the one who ends the world.
She's killing them.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is literally what she's there to do, is to end the world. And so Ix Chel is kind of this combination of the two of those goddesses. And rainbows, like I said on the patch notes show, in Mayan mythology, are often seen as an omen of bad things to come, as a threat to like, you made it this time through the rain, but next time you might not, so don't keep messing it up. And that idea was just very interesting to me. It felt really unique, and I had a very lofty goal of doing a kit where where she's doing this rainbow weaving, and all of her damaging abilities only use rainbow light, and all of her healing abilities only use moonlight, to be like Goddess I versus Goddess O.
Yeah.
That was a little harder to actually implement. Like, we were close. Yeah. Like, the Gleaming Blast is pretty white, but that's because it's supposed to look like all light put together, and all white put together is white. And, the moon is obviously going to have to damage and all that kind of stuff, so it can't be perfect. But that was, like, the high-level goal that I really chased. I think that because we have a lot of moon goddesses, Willish, Chang'e, Tsukiyomi isn't a goddess, but is a moon god. And I'm probably forgetting at least one more. We have a lot of weavers and Neith and Arachne. It was a fairly like narrow target to hit to try and do like light weaving and have it feel meaningfully different than either of those ends. But I think that we got to a spot where we were able to do that in a really cool way. Like there are also just like a lot, if I went the route that was a little bit more like Goddess O themed and like a little Jaguar heavy, lots of rain, like it just really gets close to Xbalanque and Chalk very quickly.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
So, I played around with some water ideas for sure because that's big in her lore. I played around with more healing, but we wanted her to be a damage-oriented mid-mage, so you can't have too much healing. And we knew that the healing changes were coming, so I don't really want to introduce another Afro or Hell level healer into the game right now. So it kind of landed us here. I saw someone in Twitch chat, but I couldn't get to it on like the dev insight show after patch notes. But one of my favorite books by my favorite author Brandon Sanderson is a book called Warbreaker, and it's about a power system in that book is using color and being able to see like color very definitively, and how that like kind of it has like a lot of life themes and all that kind of stuff. And that was a big inspiration for me as well because I love that book. So really wanted to go with the idea of her using ribbons of light as her main focal point, and I think it turned out like super sick.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I like the one also a lot. I thought that was a really good idea, and also it just every like ability that she casts has the whole like rainbow targeter, which is really cool to watch on patch notes too, because it just like it flows so pretty until the end of the ability, and then it kind of slows down or like hits a wall at the end, so it like kind of groups up the colors, which looks really cool.
Yeah, it was sick. I gotta say, Sockfire in the chat, that's Shane, the effects artist who worked on Maui and on Ix Chel, who I shout out like a million times, deservedly. And he's saying, and this is legitimately true, I was like, Shane, you need to read Warbreaker so you understand what I'm going for, like from this kit. And he did because he's the GOAT. And it's a goated book, and everyone out there should read it because it's freaking awesome. But that was like, it was that level of inspiration. And yes, Lightweaver is a term from my favorite series, from my favorite author. Definitely a lot of Sanderson inspiration in the kit.
So what iterations did you go through with the first ability? Because I assume this was not the the finalized version.
No, not right away for sure. I don't know if like how much I was wondering how much I should say about it, but I think I'm gonna kind of like give most of the story. But the kit was not initially going to flow exactly as it ended up flowing. I talked about
she
this.
kind of feels very combo-y right now from what I was seeing, which I like.
Yes. I wanted her to be even more combo-y and less spammy. I wanted her to feel more like Baron initially. Where Baron, has this really fun, like the initial kit feeling I wanted to go for was that there was a lot of delay in the kit, but it doesn't like feel really delayed because it's short post fire and you can act right afterwards, but it just takes a little bit of time to go off, like the 2 and the BO1, the threads. And I wanted it to feel kind of like you were lighting a line of firecrackers and they'd all go off at once, where like you could like 3, 2, 1 and like you fire them in sequential order, and then the timing lines up that they all like pop all at once. But that is a very hard thing to have happen, and it does work. Like it isn't absolutely perfect, but it's nearly there in a way that feels really good. But initially, it was not automatic that you would gain the BO1 from just hitting the AO1. Like you would have to we experimented with a lot of ways to do it, and it was a really tough conundrum and like design kind of direction to try and figure out, because Camazot's Screech is a really fun ability to use, right? Like it's super simple and super straightforward. You take a lot of the, it's very easy to hit, but then the game is catching the refraction. And I think that that's something that I want to continue to explore, like catching bounces and that kind of stuff is just really, really fun. But it can't be too hard. And I knew I didn't want it to feel just like Camazot's, where it's this one big thing coming back at you. So initially we had it so it would, the orbs that were on the 3, they weren't on the 3 at all. You would hit the 1 and then it would send orbs back at you, and and it didn't do anything to allies. You would have to catch an orb in order to get the new first ability. But it on paper that sounds like really good, right? But in practice I don't think it really worked, because if I wanted the damage to be backloaded on the second cast of the 1, which I did, I wanted that to be the thing that mattered more. I need to make catching those orbs really consistent, because think about the worst player on Nintendo Switch. If they aren't able to consistently catch the orb, then they're going to be terrible with this god, right? And if we have to make it that easy, is there any point at all to making you catch anything, So we went down that direction a whole lot, and I think that the pivot we found of using the orbs on the 3 and having it be this thing that affects allies as well as herself, and then making the AO1 to BO1 swap automatic, made the character feel so much smoother. So much better. And then I talked again about this a little bit on the Insight, but initially the AO1 was like a 10-second cooldown and like pretty good damage, but it just like, it felt really bad if you missed it, and it wasn't that, on its face, that ability on its own is not super exciting in the year 2023.
Yeah, I kind of like simple buttons like that, as long as the rest of the kit feels like if that was the only part for 1,
right.
As long as the rest of the kit is like satisfying, it's almost like a Hebo one where you can just kind of like spam it, almost like a League of Legends button.
Yes.
Where that feels more action packed, because I thought that was the initial button, and it was just like very spammable, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I think it's like Ezreal from League just kind of like throws a bunch of like stuff. So I thought that was the direction the kit was going. Yeah.
Right. And we definitely ended up getting much closer to that, because it just didn't feel quite right. And then I think it might have been Clumsy who suggested, like, what if we just absolutely gut the damage? And it is very low. Like, its numbers right now are 60 to 140 plus 40% of your magical power. That's like nothing. If you, but we just let you try it to hit this loop over and over and over again. So, with cooldown, and it's a 6-second cooldown. With CDR, that's like a 3-second, 4-second cooldown. Like, you are really spamming this. And the animation team did such a good job. I think the pre-fire and the post-fire, like, it feels really nice and smooth to, like, you just kind of like do this little short hop and you just like blast, blast, blast. And then as soon as you hit one, you get to then make this really cool decision point that I really like, which is like, do I want to just instantly use this bigger damage, like, a little bit of utility with the blind, like Cone, or, you can start a fight by hitting a tank with your 1 and then just not cast it again until you...
Oh, so you hold on to it.
Yeah, it's just your next cast is that. And it's always up, once you hit it. So the cooldown doesn't start until you fired the threads. That's when the AO1 cooldown starts. So yeah, it's immediately up. There's no cooldown on it because it doesn't need a cooldown, because it's only accessible by hitting the 1. So yeah, you don't have to fire it right away. You can just fire the 1, sit there and wait until you have a more guaranteed option on hitting the bigger damage. Or you can just let that go and try and grab another one in 4 seconds, but it contributes to this idea of she has so many different ways to play a fight, in a way that's similar like Merlin or Tiamat, that feels really fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot for the spamming but ability. I also, during the patch notes, I thought the 2 had 2 charges. The
Oh
way I think
no.
Lermy was doing it, I was
Yeah, she
like,
was firing
okay,
it off.
yeah, that seems a little OP. And I'm
No.
glad to see that it only has 1 charge. That
No,
makes me
one
feel good.
charge. The 2 is really not. We're not breaking any ground with this ability, right? It is just circle that explodes after a little bit of time. But I definitely pushed some envelopes with Maui in terms of what we were asking the teams to do technically, as well as like what we were asking players to learn how to do mechanically. And something that I really wanted to do for my second god was simplify without making it boring. Like I was really focused on like how much can I strip away all like a bunch of extraneous stuff. There's obviously some extraneous stuff with like the swapping of the 1 and all that kind of stuff, but like overall when you look at all of these abilities, the ult is a little bit complicated. Everything else is like really simple. And that's something that that is an intentional design decision. Not only for the internal teams, but for the player base. I don't think she's like super easy, which is something that can happen when you have a more straightforward kit, and oftentimes does. I think she's a little harder than I still wanted her to be, but she's skill shot heavy, and those are inherently harder. Harder for most players. But kind of like with Maui, like I just kind of messed around and made the type of god that I like to play. I like to play 2 types of mages. I like to play get my damage off and don't care what happens, like Zeus and Jean-Qui. And I like to play. I had 15 different ways to play that and try and figure out the right line, like Giannis and Merlin. Like those are 4 of my favorite mages, and they're 2 completely different play styles. And we knew we didn't want the dump it all and see what happens kit. And so this type of option heavy, am I saving my BO1? Am I letting it go? Am I leading with my root, or am I leading with my knockup? Am I using my knockup to heal me and my team? Am I focusing my team with the beam in order to heal them on the ultimate, or am I focusing it for damage? How often am I correctly using my passive, or am I saving it for like a guaranteed shot? Like all of that kind of stuff, I think, are the types of quick decision making that really make me feel like I'm enjoying my time playing a god. Like that's the type of stuff I look for in mages a lot of the time. Or like I said, like I'm down to go 9 and 8 on Zeus like any day of the week. Like I love that. BaRRa either looks unbelievably bored or is frozen. This is a hilarious little freeze frame from him. Great podcast content talking about the freeze frame, but we may have just fully lost Barry, which would be unlucky. Wow, what a face he's making. It's unfortunate that I just monologued for so long and then realized he DC'd, because I could have made it sound like this monologue was intentional to cover for him, but I wasn't even looking. Yeah, when BaRRa loses the bread, that's exactly right. But yeah, I think overall, Ix Chel, I do wonder how well she's going to perform. I mean, we said initially with Maui, like we know that he's going to be a hard god to play, and that players won't necessarily have instant success with him or continued success with him at all levels, and that has certainly played out in his stats. Hoping that Ix Chel is going to perform a little bit better for the vast majority of the player base, but should still be very fun to watch for the rest of the player base, or for the Pro League, excuse me. It seems like we have fully lost BaRRaCCuDDa, so I guess I'm just gonna monologue for this one and take questions from chat. Yeah, why not? If chat has any questions on Ix Chel, I guess I'll just continue to talk a little bit about the ultimate, because we're doing some fairly unique things there. Her ultimate is a channeled beam, kind of like Anubis, but ticks less frequently than him. Oh, is he back?
Wait.
I heard you,
back?
but I don't see you. Try and turn off your cam on Discord and turn it back on.
Hello?
He's back!
We blew the fuse.
Your fuse got blown? What? Is your AC? Did you just turn your AC on recently or something?
Oh, I did have it on. Well, it got pretty hot in here because Destiny's PC and
you gotta
triple
turn it
monitors.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, exactly. So we were toasting, and then she was just playing, and then I'm just talking to you, and everything goes black in here.
Unlucky. I wish I could tell you that you had a very normal looking face on the freeze frame.
Oh no, no.
You did not. It was very clippable. I'm sure someone has already screenshotted the face because it was good stuff.
That's not what I need.
It was really good stuff. Well, that happened to me whenever I did that one show from my phone when I was in Pittsburgh. Like there was a really good screenshot from that. So that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, I was just monologuing basically and doing more of the same. I forget what you.
Do you think she'll ever? Well, I don't think I'd ask anything for a while. Do you think she'll ever be played in support role or no?
Yeah, I don't really think so. You know, I think that she has a good amount of utility. You know, a knock up, a heal, a root, gives movement speed, a blind, but it's a really small knock-up. Like, it is not a high one. And the movement speed is good, but, like, you also give it as a mid-mage. And her base damage is not great. Like, her base damage is not super impressive, and the scaling is really where a lot of her damage comes from. And you can hit some, like, she is good late game. Like, if you get to 6 items, and you know, 2-3-1-1 someone, they die. Like they pop.
Wait, how do you clear a wave? Do you have the 2?
You max the 2. Yeah, you max the 2.
Okay.
I think the 2 is the correct max. There is a really like I experimented a lot with it. But like the 1 does have bonus damage to minions on the AO one, but even with 40% bonus damage, it doesn't really clear the wave. Even as you max it, you can go for this really aggressive type of playstyle where you're stepping up and trying to consistently like hit the enemy through the wave, and then you use the BO1 to clear, and then that lets you save your knock-up for like fighting, which is pretty strong. But I would recommend that the vast majority of players max the 2. That's our recommended maxing order. It's just real simple wave clear. But it does require you to use a CC, which does matter for sure.
For the AO2, does that heal proc only if you're hitting people?
Yes, you have to be standing in it.
Okay.
It's whoever, if her or an ally is standing in it when it explodes, they get the heal.
Interesting.
So yeah, you have to put it at your feet and have it blow up, so you're not able to use it aggressively. And get the heal. But like I said on patch notes, like it's a really good tool for as you're running away from an assassin, you just like put it on a little bit away from you on your feet, and right as you walk over it, it blows up and they have to backstep it and you get a heal and create some space. Like it's a pretty solid peel tool. As long as the enemy doesn't have beads or CC immunity or knock-up immunity or anything like that, which of course a lot of them do, but
yeah, that was my only concern is like I guess pacing of her damage, if she can outpace assassins late game, or if you're just kind of like, is she more of a stand your ground and fight back, or you just need really good positioning? Like
she's
more like a Morgan Le Fay.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, she's positioning heavy for sure. All of her damage goes over the wall. The AO1 and
Oh,
BO1 Pierce. So that's really good. Having 4 or basically 5 damaging abilities that go through walls is really strong at a high level. She doesn't deal well if people are right on top of her. But she doesn't run away super well, and she holds her ground okay. Like if an assassin blinks on you and you to your feet 1-1 them, it is a lot of damage. It's hard to confirm the BO1 at melee range because it has a delay, and they can kind of walk into you in order to avoid it, but you can get a good amount of damage off pretty quickly. The ultimate is not a great survivability tool, and we didn't really want it to be. I think that, its chase potential is really good, and we didn't want to give her additional movement speed or make her feel like invincible during it. 2% missing HP per tick, so if you're low, like, it does chunk heal okay, but it's not that great, and that's intentional. But on tanks, that missing HP matters more because it's more HP that you get back per missing HP, like just in terms of the actual number. So, she definitely is not. If she can keep you at like medium range at like 40 units away, she's really good. If you can get within melee range of her, she is not the best at getting you off, but of her, but also not like no options. It isn't like Raw, where like I feel like I can't get my damage off in time in any scenario.
You're just pressing 2 and Aegis and hoping you can survive to get your 1 off.
Exactly. Like you can place down your you can like 3 to give yourself some movement speed, Aegis, and then place down your 2. It is awkward timing in that if you 2 and then Aegis, it does go off before the Aegis stops, so you don't get healed. But yeah, it's a good amount of damage. It's 70% scaling, 295 damage at max rank, so it's not a bad amount. Yeah, she is not the best against jungle pressure, but is very good at poking from a distance.
Yeah, she seems like kind of like a more artillery Morgan Le Fay, I think. That's or like a mix of Morgan Le Fay and almost like Discordia and with Baron a little bit. A lot of combinations, I guess. Like playstyle wise. Yeah. Like you don't want to be in the fight, but you need to be in the fight, kind of.
Exactly. She feels a lot like Merlin, where like you kind of like poke. Okay, now I'm getting in there. Like you can just kind of like, if your front line is moving up and they're like trying to collapse kind of around your pushing forward front line, like a lot of times you can just like to your feet, pop your ult, and then like zoom your way, like burst your way through with your ultimate to like heal and hit the enemy and like stack up your damage increase, and then you can like flip it and use that against the new people. She is one that like there will be games where you feel like you're insane, and there will be games where you're like I felt really worthless, and I think that usually is an indicator of she is positioning and matchup heavy overall.
Yeah. Does the ult, is that enemy gods only, or is that enemies as
enemy
well?
Gods only for increasing damage? Yeah.
Okay.
I did a test not that long before we locked her on how much it would deal to fire if you just like
that's what I was
extended it. Yeah. Or even if it didn't extend the timer, if it just like did the increasing damage, and it was a good amount that ended up doing. Or maybe we changed it so because it was extending. I actually can't remember if you get increase. I think you only get subsequent damage increase from hitting gods. I'm pretty confident in that. Again, okay. That's the thing that like we mess with
enemies. So
yeah. I think that's just enemy gods, but I could be wrong. But there was definitely a time during development where you could extend it by hitting fire, and she like half health fire giant by herself.
Yeah, I can imagine. If you have like Tahuti right now, you were just toasting fire giants. So I can imagine with this god, you were just, or if that was the case, you're just toasting fire.
Yeah. Something else cool that I should have really mentioned on patch notes. The hit effects when you're hitting a god over and over again, they get stronger as your damage increases, which is something that is typically very hard for us to do, but we knew we wanted to do it from day one. So the hit effects actually like start going crazier and crazier as you stack up your damage, which is really, really cool.
What do you mean by hit effects? Like animations?
Like when you get hit by an ability and it plays an effects off of you that indicates that you got hit. Like Anubisalt actually does not because he's old. But take you get hit by like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the easiest example. It has a slow on it, but like Kukulkan spit. It like will burst on you, and then you have like the little slow effects, but it's that burst hit effects. Gotcha. Normally those are just like, it is what it is, no matter what, because it's difficult to do it otherwise. But because we knew we wanted to do this damage increase, and we were like, oh, it'd be really cool if like we couldn't really make the beam get more intense super easily, but it does I think ramp up as well on the beam, but. Yeah, it can't be... oh, yeah, the whole laser does get brighter. You're right. Thanks, Sock. So your ultimate, as it stacks up, the beam will get brighter and brighter, like, as you stack up your damage. And it's not meant to, like, convey how much damage you're going to take, but just, like, a cool little guy in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the second part. I guess it's, like, the AO2 or whatever. That's, like, my favorite part of the whole kit. Because when you were talking about on patch notes, just the way that ability looks. Also, I don't know if I'm going to be a fan of getting potentially blinded every 6 seconds.
Well, it's like 6, and then she has to fire it again, and you have to be looking at it. It's like Medusa.
I will be looking at it.
Well, then it's got to. I swear
I
to
will
God,
be looking at it.
By the last playtest, I did turn around to not get blinded.
Really?
It happened one time. One time. But it does. So it's gonna take time to get used to. It is definitely the first time it happens to you, it will like jump scare you. Like you're like, whoa, what was that? And it was much worse for a lot of her development, because I told Shane, I was like, just make it pure white. Like I want to burn a retina until people feel it. And then people felt it, because for a lot.
Yep.
It's really hard. I talk about this a lot when it comes to a lot of like items and that kind of stuff. But like when you're making mechanics, so often you'll like have it be doing a thing, and people in playtests will be like, yeah, I don't really feel it. No, I didn't really notice it. Didn't really care. Like whatever. And at some point you just go, I'll make them feel it. Like,
yeah.
And then once they feel it, we can tone it back. But until they really notice it, we've got to get in there. And so I was like, yep, we're just burning retinas. And then, we appropriately scaled it back, added a little texture to it, made it a little bit more gray. It feels white still over that 1 second because it's so like jarringly different. But if you really look at it, like the flat image of it, it's like mostly gray. It just feels white when you're like getting flashbanged.
Yeah, I feel so bad for those guys if they got legitimately flashbanged every 6 seconds.
Oh yeah, it was definitely happening. I mean, I'm not kidding. I said it on patch notes. Getting a blind in the game is the #1 request I get for like weird little things to add to my next god. Like at Worlds, everyone was like, "Please!" I swear to you, I'm not exaggerating. Like double-digit people saying, when is there going to be another blind in the game?
Why?
And I said, are you sure you want that? And they said, yeah. Okay. It
Those
is.
people are just out to get everyone else. Those were Loki players.
Maybe they all were. But I do not foresee us doing another blind for a significant amount of time. Never say never. But I would be very surprised if we did another blind anytime soon. There's a reason that it took 10 years in between them. I think thematically, it makes a ton of sense. And it really fits with the theme of the ability. And so it's a highly requested feature. We'll add it in. Hopefully it doesn't make people lose their minds. But if it does, we've got options on making it less timing, less harder to get hit by, less intense when you do get hit by it. We've got lots of options if we need them. But yeah, that's you get blinded also less than you think you will, because you have to be like running into the ability kind of. A lot of times you get hit by the one and then you are just like running away unless you're heavy trading. And you learn to turn around. Like, I'm talking about in a team fight, I like heard it and turn around. Like in lane, I don't think I got blinded like even half the time, because you see it and you just like do the quick little camera turn and you don't get blinded.
Is it the whole triangle or is it only the tip?
The whole triangle. Initially it was design. My initial design was for just the tip to blind. But yeah, you're the one who said it. But it was just so infrequent. Like there'd be whole play tests where no one got blinded. And I was like, come on, we gotta be doing it more than that. I really
think... You just want to blind people so bad.
Well, yeah, what's the point of putting it in there if people aren't gonna get hit by it, Like it's gotta do it at least some amount of the time. I will say, I'll bet you the average blinds per game is going to be significantly less than people think it will be. There will be some games where you're getting blinded left and right. And then there will be other games where you play against her and you don't get blinded a single time. Like, at least that's how it felt in playtests. That's a small sample size in comparison to the first 4 hours, the first 2 hours of games that'll be played, the first hour of games that'll be played. But I'm hoping it feels like a fun, novel, I got flashbangs, not I never want to play against Scott again.
Is her clear bad enough to where you need conduit early game, or can you go the Sands starter?
I was going Sands. If you max the 2, you can go Sands for sure. I did do a test where I did conduit plus 1 max, but I couldn't tell you if that was what damage values the 1 was at that point. You change damage values on abilities like 3 times a week during development. So like it is hard to keep track of. It's probably in my notes because I take notes on like who played them or who played the god, who they were up against, what they built, what their feedback was, what enemy feedback was. Like I have that for every playtest she was in for months. It's like a 50-page document.
Jeez.
And once they're released, I kind of don't go back and look at it anymore. At least I haven't really for Maui. But when I'm making decisions on balance, like I will scroll through it and reference that when coming up with like numbers, adjustments, and that kind of stuff.
Someone in chat asked, how much did Moira, I think, inspire Ix Chel's ultimate?
Moira from Overwatch. Yeah, it's hers is a tick beam ultimate that heals allies and hurts enemies. Certainly was a reference. The ability actually, the thing that I referenced the most was actually the Arc Warlock super from Destiny 2, which is kind of like the same. I mean, look, every Kamehameha, like literally every game, every genre like has a big beam that like moves around. I know Kamehameha really doesn't, but like it I don't think, yes, it is functionally very, very similar to Moira Alt, but we wanted to add a bunch of these Smite specific ways to try and like Smitify it. Just like we do with, when you're 100 and whatever gods deep, you're taking a lot of inspiration from other gods in your game, from characters in other games. Other games take inspiration from our gods. Like, that's just, I think that's just how development goes. And the important thing is
you either take inspiration from it, or it's just like a happy mistake where it's just
oh,
dude,
you have no idea how often that happens.
Characters.
Like, it's it's very it's so hard. Like, I'm pretty familiar with League, but most of the design team is not, and so often they'll like pitch something and I'll be like, oh, it's like that from League, and they're like, really? Like, damn, I thought I was cooking. And it's just like, yeah, but as long as it is our version, and in the context of Smite, how is it, how are we differentiating? I think that that's just part of the process.
And then, well, I don't know if you know, because you're talking about the numbers changing so often, but is Hurl comparable to a Noob Assault in damage when you get the max stacks?
No, it will never do as much damage as a Noob Assault. Well, I can't say never, but a Noob Assault just ticks so fast. It is, you will, if you can channel a full 6-second ultimate on someone, they get chunks. Like, it will hurt a lot. You do not kill as fast as Anubis does.
It would be bad, I think, if you did, because Anubis is standing still and doesn't heal allies. So.
Doesn't heal allies, is thinner. Like, her ultimate is a little wider than his. I mean, there were a lot of playtests where it felt really unmissable, and that was like not very fun for anyone else. But boy, was it fun to cast it as Ix Chel. You could just like walk someone down with it. I do think that there's a world where like buying gem and just opening with your ult and just like slowing them and guaranteeing a bunch of ticks, like, you'll do a lot of damage if you can just guarantee a bunch of ticks like that. But obviously it requires you to build a not very popular item.
Bad item.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last question from chat about the passive. It says, when it says every time she provided an allied god with a beneficial effect, she gains a stack, does that include item effects / auras like Lotus Sickle, or is it only from her abilities?
No, only from her abilities.
Okay.
I don't think we ever check for item passives for god.
It'd be funny if you just someone just walks in and out and you have a sovereignty or something.
Yeah, exactly. No, auras will not do it. It's only the her abilities. And yeah, the passive had a lot of adjustments. It was initially just hitting enemies, and then it was initially just, apologies if you can hear Mac barking. I think our food, my dinner just got here that Joe ordered for me.
Well, let's go.
But yeah, passive went through a lot of iteration. And I think it ended at a point, certainly, like I said on patch notes, a lot of mage kits interact with, basic attacks in that way for their passives, like Agni, Nuwa. Merlin is one that I didn't mention on patch notes that, I was particularly concerned with making sure it felt meaningfully different, because his is just use abilities, get basic magic power or bonus magic power scaling on some basics. But I think that we differentiated it enough pretty effectively. Merlin stacks up to 3, and importantly, his proc item effects. Ix Chel's does not. Her passive does not proc any item effects. It
doesn't proc poly?
It will proc poly. It will not proc Soul Reaver. Or Tablet, whereas Merlin does. So again, small differentiation in the eyes of much of our community. In the eyes of the pro community, that's a pretty big difference. That's a pretty big deal for what her damage output is going to be like.
Yeah, I assume Poly's got to be good on her. How wide is the auto attack?
It's Jingwei 2.
Oh.
It's big. And it does splash in that area, just like Jingwei 2.
Oh! Jeez.
But if you have Poly, and you hit one target, and the others would get affected by the splash damage, they would not get polyed. It's only your initial target gets polyed.
That would be OP.
Is that how Hydra's works with Jingwei? I assume it is.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, so it's similar in that way. But yeah, poly cooks, because if you can like 3, 2, 1 passive auto 1, like,
yeah, I assume
people
poly is also your best way of fighting back against an assassin, because you're probably just pressing beads and spamming your buttons as fast as you can.
Yep, 100%.
Which gives you the potential to fight back.
You can also do the Sockfire combo, again, the effects artist that I call it, where because
I know what that was.
Yeah, this is the BaRRaCCuDDa combo, but for Ix Chel, and it's much worse. He would love, because you instantly charge your passive on casting your ultimate, and this is because if we wanted it to be, she gains a stack every time she affects an enemy or an ally with an ability. If we had to count those quick ticks as, oh, you got 6 or you didn't get 6, like overall tick hits, it just like got really ugly and really messy really quickly. And I was like, the chances that you're not hitting 6 ticks over the course of this ultimate on allies or enemies is so low that,
well, you gotta think of that guy on Nintendo Switch.
You know what? I believe in that guy on Nintendo Switch. Okay, I believe in them. And I was like, can't we just give it to her? Like, can't we just give her the passive and just assume that's going to happen? And so that's what we ended up doing. I think it feels really good. And you can do, like, passive auto, cast alt, insta-cancel, passive auto. I don't know why you would do that necessarily, but it is more burst if you're getting a polyproc. Like, if you really just need to absolutely kill them that second. You know, they're in a Scylla alt, and it's coming down, or, you know, they're about to fire it. You can't move it. You're slow. I don't know why you would ever sock combo them, but the passive.
It's a worse Andy special.
It's a worse Andy special, exactly. The passive, alt cancel passive, it looks really flashy. It looks really cool.
Is it good? Maybe.
No. No, I don't think it is good. But it's cool, and it looks and sounds really cool.
I assume she just uses the standard, like, Doom Orb. I assume she needs Doom Orb for mobility.
Doom Orb's really good on her. She stacks tablet very well, and procs tablet very well. So you can go the stacking build. You can go like book into tablet. And feel pretty good about it. You can go Doom Orb and feel really good about it. She uses Deso really well. She uses Magus really well. She uses Soul Reaver very well. You know, she's not Raijin in that she gets to spread these procs through a fight super well, but she is like Merlin, where she can hit you with 4 procs back to back to back to back really quickly and have them add up pretty effectively. So hopefully she isn't, you know, Merlin is typically very dependent on the item meta. If proc items aren't great, he typically struggles a little bit. Hopefully she isn't super dependent on them, but it's possible that she will be.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine her with like a Doom Orb into Deso with like a Sands of Time, and then you go on like Magus, Poly, Divine, or something like that.
Yep.
And you're just cooking people late game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that build definitely slams.
Yeah, with the lack of mobility on her, I assume Doom Orb is a necessity, especially with how important mid and laters rotating around the map is right now. Probably for other game modes, for other game modes, Doom Orb might just feel nice as well.
Doom Orb's just pretty good.
Yeah, sad fish on it. Is that enough questions about Ix Chel? I tried to fill up the whole podcast time for it.
Yeah, you basically did. I do think that it's worth us just... I want to touch on one thing, and then I wanted to get your thoughts on 2 balance changes.
Sure.
And then we'll kind of leave the rest and talk about whatever we need to talk about in the future. Obviously, a lot of talk about lack of spectral buff versus crit nerf, and all that kind of stuff. And I said this on the Dev Insight, but, you know, better to amplify. It is not that we do not hear the community on this or don't agree with them. The schedule is, we are beholden to a schedule, and the reality is that these patches can fall in awkward time periods where they lock, and we just have to ship them, and then we get them next time. Or, it doesn't. If we're trying to do a bigger shift, that's not what I'm saying is necessarily happening to any system like or item, but it could also happen where we want to buff a god in a certain way or nerf a god in a certain way, but it can't be done. It needs to be done by programming or effects or something like that, and they can't get to it until the next patch or whatever it may be. So, obviously really wish we could have addressed those community concerns in this patch, but it's just the way the cookie crumbled on this one. But just wanted to let everyone know that we aren't ignoring that feedback or anything like that. And also, did make some pretty big game level changes with, the pen changes are, big, that matters a lot. And while it may, while I doubt that is enough, I was hoping that people would feel like it was at least a step in the right direction, but the most of the feedback I've seen is that it is, a lot of disappointment that Crit and Spectral weren't touched, which is, understandable, and something that we are very keen to get, to get to a point where we can address it in bonus or in the next patch. But it felt like it was probably worth saying that. Yeah, real quick, Bear, you got 1 minute on the pen changes in general and your thoughts on them?
I honestly thought Solo was in a pretty good spot. I think gods like Hercules are going to be kind of hard to kill. They're already pretty hard to kill, but with less penetration, they're going to be pretty hard to kill. I do think there's a lot of soloing gods that are just kind of useless right now, which might be what people are playing. But there's a lot of soloing gods that are definitely good right now. Definitely a good amount of soloing gods that are really good. But I think people probably don't know about them, or they're probably playing them incorrectly. But I think the penetration changes are good, mixed with the Bloodforge nerf, because I do think mages and hunters were very strong right now. But I don't think solo is really weak. I just think prophetic is really good against solo laners. Whenever they're diving, and I played a Bologna game and I hit team fights, and I'm like, what's even the point of playing? I can't dive into their backline and kill anyone. They're all just tanks in their backline.
Right.
I was diving 150 prot backline. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Sure.
So I don't think she's good. But there are a lot of solo laners that are good right now. But it's a little worrisome for it's the snaky solo laners like Hercules, where they just kind of always have buttons up and they're already kind of hard to kill. Sure. They're just kind of controlling the team fight. But I think it's necessary, because I do think hunters and mages were really strong right now. But there's some games where Spectral feels really OP versus me. And there's some games where Spectral feels like it's not doing anything for them. Which is interesting. Because some supports, when Crit was really OP, well, I still think Crit's pretty OP. They would go Spectral second. It would be prophetic into Spectral. Right. And they would just run at me, and I'm like, okay, I can't do anything anymore. And then there's some games where it's I'm 6 items, they're 4 or 5 items, but they have Spectral, and I'm still 300ing them in auto attack, which I'm like, this poor guy, he can't really do anything. I'm not really sure why Crit's so strong, because I feel like Crit's been nerfed a lot. But it's still kind of really strong. I think it's just because you need objective DPS, and Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I feel like I'll be giving too much away if I keep talking.
Sure, fair enough. Do you feel like, and maybe this is just because I've switched over to the game design side of things, and I'm not just a caster anymore, but
Hmm.
I feel like this year in particular, even in comparison to last year, it feels like and I don't want this to come off as like me moaning about the community or anything like that, but I mean this from like a legitimate, like, this thought occurred to me recently, and I wonder if you feel the same way. I feel like the time at which players are tolerating things they don't like is shorter now than it used to be. Like, if we're talking at like a legitimate time window, and this is not unique to Smite, like I'm seeing, I've noticed this across a bunch of different games that I follow very closely. Like before, it was like, oh, if something lasted for 6 weeks, it would really start to get on people's nerves. And now I
I mean,
feel like
back
it's like 2 to 3 weeks, and it's like the worst thing that's ever happened to. And I'm really thinking of more like, I play a lot of Marvel Snap, but like if anything lasts for a month in Marvel Snap, like by the end of the month, there are like 15 posts about like on the subreddit of like, I would rather do this horrible thing than ever see
Mhm.
Galactus ever again. And it's like, dude, it's been 1 month. Like,
I
I don't know. It just feels like the leash is just getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
I think it's because people are gaming less for fun
Mm-hmm.
and more to win nowadays because
Hmm.
knowledge is so instant now. Like, if you want to learn Smite, you can go to anyone's Twitch stream and ask, and it's like readily known now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, what are the best gods in the game? Aphrodite. Okay, I'm gonna play some Aphrodite.
Sure.
And then someone plays against that Aphrodite. And also, I think people are much better at games nowadays and are much better at abusing things nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes the OP things much more suffocating. It's like
Mm.
if you put a season 10 player against the season 1, like if you put one season 10 player that's been playing the game for 10 years, like a Diamond or Masters player, and then you put them in a Diamond or Masters lobby in season 1, they would blow everyone out.
Yeah, they would make
And because they
Annanster
would
look. They
find
look.
out
They'd make season one Annanster look like a chump.
exactly, like they would just min max so much better. Like I was playing a lot of casuals leading up to this year, just kind of like get back in the swing of things, and people are so much better nowadays in casuals than they have been before.
Mm-hmm. For
They
sure.
just really want to win, and they know, like, people invading was a big thing in season 1.
Yeah.
Like that was something no one did casually.
Nope.
And now everyone's invading. They know timers on buffs. They know where to be on the map. It's just so much more abusable, and it also feels, in my opinion, probably much more suffocating because, like, if you're playing against an Aphrodite in an arena game and she's just pocketing an assassin that is a good assassin player, there's no way you can really kill that assassin player right now.
Uh huh.
And it's just so suffocating for those people, for those average people that are dealing with someone that's above average at blowing you out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's probably why it feels so much worse. And also, I think people know that complaining fixes things, or people just want to vent because the internet's so much more like accessible than it used to be. So they
Yes.
know, oh, I can just go to Reddit. If enough people complain about what I'm complaining about, it will get changed, it will get nerfed, it will get fixed.
It's true.
So also, I just had a really bad casual game, and it lasted 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was 20-1, and these noobs, sorry. Yeah, I think it's just so easy for people to complain to anyone right now,
Yeah.
and get it fixed.
Yeah. Definitely true. Definitely been feeling, and this is not Smite specific in any way, just the general internet trend of, this is nothing. I'm not breaking any new ground by saying that the internet is wildly negative. But definitely just been feeling it a little bit more as of late, I think, across every community that I follow. But
Well, I assume just from you being on the design part of things, that talk and that language probably affects you a different way now than it used to.
Oh,
And
surely.
you're probably much more like attuned to people complaining about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And before it was like, oh, that's not my department. Good luck up there. But now it's like, oh, this is like directly at me, even if it's like about a different game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like those poor designers are now having to deal with this problem. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
you were
definitely not
talking
wrong.
about. So I just feel bad for designers now because you can't please everyone and you can't please the Nintendo Switch guy and the Grandmaster PC player at the same time. Like it's like
It is hard for sure, but I
I
don't want
there
to. I don't know. It's hard. Like I don't want to ever make it be like, oh God, my job is so hard because like, I work on a video game. Like it's really not that.
it is. You
serious.
have to flashbang people.
But yeah, it's a good time, but it is an impossible puzzle that will never be solved. And then people get mad at you for not solving it. And that's okay. That's the nature of the beast, so to speak. Okay, we'll talk about the next buffs later because we're already over time, and my food got here a while ago, and it is getting cold, and I am very hungry. And I don't have my phone to look at the questions of the week, and I can't look it up.
Oh, I can do it.
Yeah, can you pop on over to the Discord and see if we have any?
Sure.
Of course, in our community Discord, which you can access by going to patreon.com/backliners. Join up on that community Discord. It's a good time. We got some good peeps in there.
In all of the that's how you do it. You're on your phone. That makes
Yeah,
so
I
much
go on my
sense.
phone.
Yeah, because I was trying to host obviously, and I was like, how did he do this?
Yep. Built different.
In all of the CODs, what was the best multiplayer map?
Ooh, great question.
This is a hard question.
That is a very hard question. I think it's Raid from Black Ops 2. That's the map that has the garden in the middle, and on the left-hand side, assuming you're spawning in garage, is the like circle fountain area, and then on the right is the pool. It is so fun. There were so many sight lines, a lot of head glitches, but that's kind of COD. But a lot of angles of attack, but defensible points, height changes, like really cool visuals. I'd say Raid is my favorite.
I just looked up the Modern Warfare 2 maps. Bro, all of these are bangers.
Bangers.
This is crazy.
Bro,
I'm like, I like this map. I like this map.
Bro, okay, here's what's messed up. In game battles, we lost Scrapyard every single time. Me and my friends had a search and destroy only game battles team. We were actually very good. Scrapyard, maybe my favorite casual map ever. We could not win any time we played that map in game battles. So then I started hating it. It was the opposite with Rundown, which was a map I did not like for sixes at all, but we were like nearly undefeated on Rundown. And that was back in the day where if you had a game battle, I don't know if this is how it still works, but it was a best of 3, and if you didn't have Game Battles Premium, it was randomized. If you had Game Battles Premium, then you could choose your map for one of the 3. And so we bought Premium and picked Rundown every time. And I guarantee we had a 90+% win rate on Rundown. Like we were cracked on that map. Terminal is obviously always a great one.
I liked Favela a lot.
Yep.
I liked Afghan, Derail.
Yep.
Scrapyard was good too.
I love
Terminal
Scrapyard.
was sometimes really good. Other times you get like the airplane spawning, it spawn trapped there forever.
Forever. Yep. Or if you get trapped in security, like you are just done.
Yep.
Like there is just nothing you can do. That's kind of how those maps were though.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I feel like nowadays you would just get spawn trapped forever, and there'd be no noobs running around.
Of course not. No, of course not. Dude, you know what map I did hate, though? What? To contribute to the negativity that I was just talking about? We would always call Underpass Underass, because we all hated that map. It would come up and be like,
I kind of liked it.
It's Underass again. This sucks. I hate Underpass. What a terrible map. You couldn't see anything on that map.
I remember getting noob tubed on that map forever.
Yeah, there was a pretty good spawn tube. It's because you just couldn't run by the car. If you just didn't go by the car, that was the only spawn tube they could throw. I wonder if I wonder what my percentage would be on shooting spawn tubes if I went back into MW2, because me and my friends legitimately practiced. We would load into private lobbies and and get our practice in, and we were really good at just that game in general. But doing that nonsense, like I wonder if I
ever
could
played
first
against each
try
other.
line up. I don't know. I wonder that too. I had literally like months of in-game time in Modern Warfare 2 before the next one came out.
Yeah, we played a lot in Modern Warfare 2. Like we would play like all night at LAN parties.
We probably did play against each other. I wish we could figure that out. That'd be fun.
We definitely have. Like we did a lot of game battles back in the day too.
I wonder if I
I
called you horrible names. You know, like I wonder.
I would assume so. I probably said them back.
Yeah, like I wonder if you like one bursted me with the FAMAS, and I was like, this loser, like. Is he host? Like, what the hell? Like, this guy sucks. He's just hosting me.
We went on like a 150 win streak on.
Nice.
I can't remember what it was. It was sabotage.
Sabotage. I was gonna say it's always sabotage because that's the best spawn trap mode.
Yeah, people would also not play to win, so we'd win in like 30 seconds to a minute, and people would get mad. It's like, why aren't you like? I think it was like,
wait, you would plant?
Yeah, we'd fight every time.
Oh my god! Exactly. If we played against you in Sabotage, we definitely said some stuff about you. No, it's 20-minute TDM. That's what it's there for. Like, it was the only mode where you would just have fixed spawns, and you could, dude. We dropped like 200 kill Sabotage games all the time. Yep, was there anything better than Christmas noobs, dude? When you'd been playing all fall, and you knew that you load into a lobby on December 25th and there'd be a level 2 account and it would just be meat. Like it's literally, you're like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to make this person have the least fun they've ever had. I loved doing that to people, man. I was such an asshole.
I mean, that was just what we lived for back then. It was just ruining someone's day.
Oh, Christmas noobs. Those were the best.
It was so nice.
I can literally hear my one friend. My one friend for months leading up to Christmas. Like, as soon as the first month of COD was over, he'd be like, you know what's coming? Christmas noobs. Like, he'd always say it in these really funny ways, and he'd be like, yes, Christmas noobs. And we would just get so pumped. Oh, I will never have as much fun in any game the rest of our lives as like those early days of like any game that you were playing in that time period, like early high school or early college. Like, man, getting on after school every day and just I would have played MW2 22 hours a day if I was given the capability to do it, and I would have loved it. Like, literally loved it. It was so fun.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, and Halo 2 was like peak gaming era for me.
And if we played that today, we would hate it, right? Like, if
we hadn't played it, it was not good.
That game is not balanced in any way. There is no way you can look at what the ACR does or what the UMP does or like the secondary shotguns. Like, you could get mapped by the spaz, and we're not even talking about pre-nerf models. Like, you could do some messed up stuff, and we just didn't care. And that's what I'm talking. I wish that all, like myself included, I wish all of us could like go back.
Well, it was like
to that. You know,
if you went online and complained, like, who cares?
That they weren't going to do anything.
Yeah, like, okay,
I remember when they nerfed akimbo models, I was like, what? They can do that? Like, I remember being like, that is crazy. I didn't know that they could do that.
Yeah, I was the same way with Halo 2 melees. Back then, like, right after Halo 2 came out, it took like 5 punches to kill someone. And I was like, okay, I'm just never going to punch someone. Yeah. And then the next day, you punch someone and took out their whole shield, and I'm like, what?
What happened?
How did they do this?
What happened? Yeah. It's kind of like, it must have been so exciting when they realized, like, when the patches, like, kind of came into fruit, like, the first patches, and they were like, because it must be, I think about this with, like, Magic the Gathering all the time. It must be so stressful designing something and then being like, once it's out, I can't touch it. It's gone. Yep. Like, it's either we have to ban it or it is what it is. That must be so stressful. And it must have been such a relief. But I wonder if, like, the developers that were working on those games then were able to predict what games are now. Where, like, players just demand so much constant change and constant updating.
It's weird because you need the game to be different enough, but also the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, every few months you need like a major update, which is funny enough what you guys are doing this year.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of people, I think people were complaining about Apex, that it didn't have like any flavor for a long time. I think it was Apex. And now they're doing like more consistent updates to it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I got way off topic. Next question. If you could fist fight anyone in the world with an auto win, who would it be?
An auto win, so I just get to like beat the crap out of someone for free?
Yeah, pick your billionaire.
Yeah, it is definitely some very rich person or politician. I think I would really love. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I think I'd pick Ted Cruz. That's he's so punchable. Yeah, it's Ted Cruz.
That man.
Great. I was going to get clipped, and now we are. Thanks, Barry. Now we're going on the Smite Reddit. That is hilarious. Oh yeah, Matt Walsh is a great one, Neon, from chat.
Next question. Would you rather live in the universe of Jurassic Park or Jumanji?
Ooh, Jurassic Park, I could simply not go. If we're talking about the later ones where they like escape and like are like all throughout the earth, like that sounds pretty terrible. I guess I could also just not. How did they do? I haven't seen Jumanji in a long time. Was it like it was a board game in the first one, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. You'd have like elephants charging through your house or whatever, right?
Yeah, I could simply not own the game Jumanji, I suppose. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
I think you have to like be permanently in there. Like you're either permanently in Jurassic Park or permanently
I'm tired and hungry enough
Jumanji
to just
land.
Keep it a buck with everyone here. If I'm in either of those universes and I'm in the dinosaur park or in the board game Jumanji, I am dying instantly. Like, I am not making it, okay? And I understand that, and I've accepted this. So it doesn't matter much to me. If I have to experience it, like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I am not making it, okay? Like, let's be clear right now. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. Any of those, like, if I have to experience them, it's over for me. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah, I would do Jumanji. Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like I'm dead in 5 minutes either way.
Yep, I'm not making it.
There's no way. There's no possible way I'm surviving Jurassic Park. Literally, there's no possible way.
No shot.
There's no way. I would die. And Jumanji, I don't know enough, but I feel like I remember elephants charging through a house, and I'm like, I would just die.
Yeah,
if there's a herd of elephants charging through my house, yeah, I'm not going to dodge them. It's not like a Lion King moment for me. I will just die.
Do you think people are listening to this podcast and they're like, these guys are so not fun? They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, nope, I'm dead. Like, nothing I can do.
We've accepted our fate.
We're just realists, bro. Like, let's be real. If you think that you're going all the way through The Last of Us, like if you play or like watch The Last of Us and you're like, yeah, I'd be there 20 years later, you're joking yourself, right? Like for the vast majority of people, like I'm toast, bro, and I've accepted it. That's all there is to it.
I would need like military training. I would need to be in much better shape than I am. I would need a permanent like food reserve that I wouldn't have to worry about.
How am I getting contacts? Like I'm blind. Like as soon as my contacts run out, I've got one pair of glasses, and if that breaks, I'm blind for the rest of my life. Is that what we're talking about? Because I'm toast if that happens, you know? Like, that's not working.
Where do I use the bathroom?
Me. Okay, this isn't so bad, but like, where's my toilet paper? And they're like, that's not a thing anymore. I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like...
I
don't think this is gonna work. I don't think this is gonna work for me. And they're like, you can totally live without that. And I'm like, do I want to?
Ew.
Yeah, it's coming down to okay, never mind. Never mind.
It's gotta be Jumanji though, because Jurassic Park is you're just dying. Destiny. She's gone.
Unlucky.
I'm going to get her.
Okay, I can't read the next question, by the way. So I guess we're just waiting for BaRRa to get Destiny. I assume he's asking her if she thinks she would survive in Jurassic Park or anything. Are we talking post World War III? Yeah, if you think that I'm surviving like a nuclear wasteland post World War III,
Okay,
I'm
she's
not.
coming.
Nice.
Yeah, there's no next question, but
Oh,
I
okay.
need Destiny's input for Jurassic Park or Jumanji.
For her, or where she thinks you would succeed.
Well, she knows I won't succeed in either.
Yeah.
That is pretty obvious. I've been a professional gamer for 10 years. I'm not surviving in either one.
No. And I think that's a really healthy outlook.
Thank you. Destiny. Are you here? Oh. Okay, so would you rather live in the universe of Jurassic Park or Jumanji? Because me and Aggro are accepting death either way.
That's stupid.
Stupid?
That's stupid.
You think you'd survive?
Jumanji, for sure.
What? You think you'd survive?
Jumanji. Yeah, dude.
How would you beat Jumanji?
Well, you play the game and finish it like a
What?
like a normal person.
That game was so hard.
You and Aggro just laying down accepting death.
Yes.
You can, bro.
You
roll
can't
the
just beat
dice.
that game. It's
Yeah,
impossible.
you literally can. Jack Black could do it. I could probably do it.
Dude, Jack Black can do a lot of stuff that I cannot do, for the record.
Yeah, Jack Black can do a lot of things that me and Arrow cannot do.
That dude shreds a guitar.
Are you serious? You just beat Jumanji.
I would simply beat
By
it.
yourself. What?
Like I said, I have to do by myself because you and Aggro are not going to be any help.
We'd be dead.
It's
Aggro's
true.
blind. I would need a toilet.
Toilet?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate.
Thank you.
No, I would win.
We would have food. Elephants would charge through our living room.
I would make an elephant steak.
You're vegan.
What do you
How
mean?
would you kill an elephant?
I would find a way.
You can't kill an elephant.
Yes, you
No,
can.
not with your bare hands. We have no weapons in the house.
Weaponry. You couldn't make weaponry.
What? What?
Literally anything.
We have a weed whacker.
Perfect.
That's not gonna kill an elephant.
That is so far from perfect.
To the face.
Perfect would be having an elephant gun
I'm
in
gonna
your
win
house.
Jumanji.
You can't. There's no way you can just win Jumanji.
Yes, I can.
No.
It's way better odds than Jurassic Park.
They're
That
both
is
impossible.
okay. That is true.
Literally every single Jumanji movie is about them beating Jumanji.
It's because it's a movie.
Yeah!
If Jumanji was
exactly.
real life, everyone would die.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
That is not true.
That game was impossibly
I
hard.
would win.
Did you see the new Jumanji? I haven't seen the new one. Is the new one like?
I think so.
Maybe it's easier. I haven't seen the one with Jack Black.
Both of them were really good. Both of them were really good.
I want to see the old one again. I want to see the one that we watched as kids. When did that one come out? Okay, we have to end the podcast, but I'm googling this real quick.
The 80s?
No way. 1995.
Jeez.
Yeah, we're so old, Vera. It's actually debilitating.
Oh,
at this
Robin
point.
Williams.
Yep, Robin Williams. Great. It's a video game with a new one. Interesting. That makes sense, I suppose, because no one's using like VHSs or DVDs for that matter. Okay, that's gonna do it for this episode. I know we didn't talk a lot about overall balance, but we'll get to it next week.
We'll save it for next time.
And we'll also do a little SPL preview, which is no issue. So I appreciate everyone watching and listening. Excited to see everyone get their hands on Ix Chel and watch your clips on PTS and all that kind of good stuff. We'll be back next week on Tuesday in our normal time slot for once, maybe, in order to do the good stuff, which is this podcast. My brain has ceased functioning, and that's okay. Until next time, BaRRa, you know what to do.
Bye! I banned Destiny in chat.
This episode devolved very quickly. Oh,
Well,
that's
my
good
power
stuff.
went out in the middle of it, dude.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, all bets were off after that. What a way to end it.